Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up for you. New York Stock Exchange talks crypto price discovery while we're having a crypto bloodbath and the market cap is under 3 trillion. And could XRP ETF rollouts turn into a supply shock? Somebody roll that beautiful intro so we can find out.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You could follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, under 3 trillion, as we said in the opener, $2.98 trillion market cap for crypto. We're off 6.7% on the 24 hours here. And we're going into a weekend, which usually remains flat or calm or lower or however you want to say it. So who knows where we go over the weekend here. However, Bitcoin 84,000, you heard that right, 84,700 plus, Ethereum 2,700 plus, and XRP $1.94 here, and we will keep an eye on it. We're off 8.6 on the 24. We're off 14.9% on the 7-day. The range of price between 186 and 215. We'll keep an eye on it. Caleb and Brown, ladies and gentlemen, get your peace of mind that you deserve. Start getting the best night's sleep since you've been into crypto. Free institutional grade custody, multiple layers of security, and you can put special restrictions on your account with your prime broker to put even more added levels of security on it. Let me give you an example. So you have all the multiple layers of security, two-factor verification. They verify every transfer. It's unbelievable the level of protection you get. But then when you meet your prime broker 24/7, 365, you can have them put special restrictions on your account. Let me give you an example. No one could do anything in my account unless I have a Zoom call proving I am alive and I'm not under duress. How about that for security from a hacker? How about if I don't say a special phrase like Omaha, right? Then no one can make a transfer. And this goes on top of the multiple layers of protection you already get and institutional grade custody. Stop messing around with your assets in your portfolio. Click the link underneath the video, xrpwealth589.com, and start getting the best night's sleep since you've been in this space. The hacks are at an all-time high. Don't mess around. xrpwealth589.com. Get started today. You're going to love it. Moving forward, Brad Garlinghouse says, is the only path worth considering. Excited to join this outstanding group at Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai. So there that is, coming up December 3rd. So that's headed up the next couple weeks here. Representative Warren Davidson is introducing the Bitcoin for America Act to strengthen long-term national financial resilience. Let's hear him talk about it here.
Congressman Warren Davidson is introducing a new bill to codify Trump's executive order for a U.S. Bitcoin reserve. Congressman Davidson joins me now. Congressman, a series of questions here. Number one, what is a Bitcoin reserve? What does it do? And how do you build it?
Well, first of all, the president created a strategic reserve of Bitcoin in part because the United States government didn't have like a single custodian. You had every agency in the government that might have had an asset, seized an asset, or anything else, any kind of digital asset, they didn't have custody of it, so they were losing track of the private keys. So essentially, when you lose your keys, you lose. It's like losing a pile of cash.
Yeah.
So they created an organized way and put it under Treasury to say, hey, we're going to have a single custodian for all of the Bitcoin, kind of like Fort Knox for crypto, right? Okay. And then they said, well, not all crypto is created equally. Bitcoin we want to hold on to. It's an appreciating asset over a long period of time. Some of these other things, we should just sell them off and buy more Bitcoin. But they wanted to do it in a deficit neutral way. And I think a lot of people have been like, well, how else do you put money in there? And so we're introducing legislation that not only codifies that executive order, so there's a common sense way to have custody for the Bitcoin and other digital assets, but you can contribute. So when you pay your taxes, you can pay your taxes in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is currency in that sense, and there's no capital gains. So for people that have held Bitcoin for a long time, they've experienced significant capital gains. When I first took office in 2016, Bitcoin was $500 or $600. Now, you know, over 90,000. It's reached higher, but significant capital gains.
Now, you want to talk about something. Remember when we learned from the IMF that they can't consider something a currency unless a country adopts it as their currency. And one of the ways to validate that is to pay your taxes in an accepted asset like Bitcoin or cash, right? Look, I like this idea, but I like it for all assets, not just one, and this is the first time that Representative Warren Davidson, he came out early on with like this with Ethereum, and now he's grabbing on to Bitcoin. And I happen to believe this is like political posturing for his base and things of that nature. But nonetheless, the question is in 26 is, will we get the strategic reserve for Bitcoin and the digital asset stockpile for other assets? And Bitcoin is the big one in question because it doesn't have the same level of efficiency, cost savings, or scalability. So that really puts it in question. Now, I hold a significant position in Bitcoin, which is one of the reasons why I'm interested to see if we do get a strategic reserve. Because if we don't, I'm not going to be continuing to hold it probably. But that's me. It's not financial advice. Meanwhile, we know that we're on track to get the new commissioner, the chair for the CFTC. Mike Selig's nomination passed out of committee in 12-11 vote, and now it has to pass the full Senate. A floor vote. No word yet on when that vote will be scheduled, but I bet it'll be soon. And it'll be good to have that done before the market infrastructure bill, because then we'll have two permanent heads in the CFTC, and as we already have Paul Atkins at the SEC. You are here. Now, I know some of you are like, now, how many times is Brad going to show this? But the reality is tomorrow is the go live date for ISO 20022. We covered it more in depth on the first video. Nonetheless, we're still waiting for the bank charter, the Federal Reserve Skinny Master account, and the Clarity Act. Now, with the ISO going live on Saturday, that means that the 11,000 plus banks, 200 plus countries are all switching over to ISO 20022. I do not expect a price increase. I'll be happy if we have one, and I'll be glad to make the correction if we do. But I don't expect that. And I wouldn't expect you to expect it either, because we don't have the market infrastructure bill. So banks and all of the like of them cannot use these things yet, but they're prepared to, because ISO 20022 compliant messaging allows for the integration of codes for digital assets to be able to move the value along with the rich messaging data. So that's where we're at here. That happens tomorrow. And here is the president from the New York Stock Exchange talking about price discovery from ETFs for crypto. Loving this.
Question for you. What is the next big thing in ETFs?
Ooh, the next big thing in ETFs. I keep watching the developments across a variety of asset classes. I keep watching with interest, the money that comes into the more opaque asset classes, such as fixed income. 2020 was super instructive from my personal seat as to how an ETF can really be a great form of price discovery. And more recently, you're starting to see that with crypto as well. And people are saying, well, maybe ETFs can be a good form of price discovery for the crypto market. We were the exchange that launched the first cash settled crypto ETF, but I know a variety of folks are looking to see, well, is that a way to add some transparency to a really illiquid, non-transparent, still to be defined regulatory framework for that asset class? So I think you're going to just continue to see new and interesting asset classes leverage the innovation that SSGA brought to market 30 years ago that has time and time again proved itself through incredibly volatile circumstances as a tremendous form of price discovery and transparency.
There you have it right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's the president of the New York Stock Exchange, Lynn Martin. Shout out to you, Lynn. And Brad Garlinghouse comes in, speaking of ETFs, and says the pre-Thanksgiving rush, shall we say turkey trot, for XRP ETF starts now. Congrats, Bitwise, on today's launch. Milestone day for XRP community. It sure is. And here it is right here. You can see, let me just start right here. Oh, well, actually, sorry. I think I had it. I had this lined up. Dag nabbit. I think I closed one back, but let me read it right here. This morning, Bitwise XRP ETF began trading on New York Stock Exchange under the ticker $XRP, which is the baddest dollar. That's the baddest symbol for an ETF I've seen to date. With today's launch, investors have a new convenient way to get spot exposure to XRP, the crypto assets looking to disrupt the $250 million $250 trillion market for global payments. Why is XRP intriguing? It says one of the longest running crypto assets, 13 plus years. The XRP Army's super passionate community of supporters, $125 billion market cap, going after a huge opportunity of cross-border payments and tokenization, operating in a crypto-forward regulatory environment with the chance to fully unlock its potential, no doubt about it. And here we see this quick clip here of Matt Hogan from Bitwise in a Twitter space with Eleanor Terra and David Schwartz and others. Take a listen to this.
When you have more people able to buy an asset with a limited supply, all else equal, that's very positive. So I think it's hard to look at opening this up to institutional capital as anything but net positive. Obviously, the long-term price of an asset is driven by its fundamentals, but it's also true that if you exclude a big portion of the world's money from being able to gain exposure to it, and then you open that up, that is a major catalyst and major positive as well. And I think that's what we'll see as ETFs open up more and more of these assets. I don't have the statistics in front of me of where it ranks for day one ETF volume, but it did north of $20 million of trading. There's obviously a strong, more than 1 million shares traded on a day when the market is down. I think that's an incredible response to a new ETF launch. It's probably.
I think so too. It's remarkable. So you hear the numbers there are big, and we love that even in this down market. So just to get the real number here, 53 million XRP absorbed by Bitwise on its first day, simply incredible. The supply shock will come very quickly when the big players enter. They will absorb the available XRP in days, while some cry, others absorb, think and act like an institution. XRP in trust, 53,700,000 or 53,743,000 plus, right? That's where we're at here. Market value is over $107 million. First day in a down market. I love it, ladies and gentlemen. That is amazing. Shout out to Matt, Hunter Horsley, and everybody at Bitwise. And I want to play this little quick clip here where you hear Stephen McClurg from Canary Capital. And I want you to hear him talk about, and I have this, I believe it's right here. So let's bring it. Wait a minute. I think it's right in this area. So let's hear him talk about what he thinks for XRP by the end of the year here.
Now that it's got ETFs backing it, institutional capital coming behind it, or do you think there's an opportunity for some bigger moves in the future, much like what we've had this year?
No, I think there's a massive opportunity for bigger moves. And, going back a year or maybe it's a little bit over a year now, XRP was trading at around, 50 cents, and then it shot up to 250 after everything was settled in the courts and the SEC. And that brought it back up to a range where it should have been. So now that we're back to being, I would call this steady, that $2 to $3 range. But once now that ETFs have come online, and once the actual economy can stabilize, then I don't think that $5-7 is out of the question for price in the short run. Short run being 1 or 2 years.
There you have it right there from Stephen McClurg, Canary Capital. And XRP ETFs could consume the entire public supply in a year, says Chad Steingraber. And this is pretty interesting the way he laid this out here. So I want to share it with you. Take a look at this. Ultimately, Steingraber argued that without price appreciation, the collective XRP ETFs could consume the entire public supply within a year. This aligns with his earlier point that XRP faces two possible outcomes. Listen to this. Either ETFs accumulate the majority of the supply at current prices, or rising prices slow their buying. Either scenario remains bullish for the long term. I mean, I don't think you could really say it any better than when Chad just said it right there. So looking at it and drilling down on this is why he says this. Notably, a Steingraber scenario comes as ETF gains momentum. Canary Capital's XRPC ETF saw $245 million in day one of inflows and a record 25.41 million and 8.32 million of the following 2 days. So So far, Canary Capital's amassed $277.82 million in XRP, right? Meanwhile, analysts expect Franklin Templeton's launch on November 24th, which will come on Monday, right? I believe that's Monday. Yeah. Saturday, yeah, yep, it'll come on Monday. So to draw 150 to 250 million on its first day. So if we see that, then you see a match of that. Then 5 more ETFs, Bitwise, Grayscale, 21 shares, Valkyrie, and CoinShares are pending. Based on this, community projections suggest 7 XRP ETFs could generate 7.2 billion in annual inflows. With just over 60 billion XRP in circulation, competing ETF demand could create a major supply imbalance, according to commentators like Steingraber. His model suggests that 6 months of heavy inflows could consume half the supply, and a full year could absorb nearly all publicly available XRP. However, this remains speculative, obviously. Moreover, XRP continues to trade at $2.50, and now it's under $1, right? So nonetheless, you see where all of this is. I think he makes a fantastic point, and you're not even adding in other things like DeFi, Flare networks, that's all creating total value locked up, TVL, or whether you're talking about digital asset treasuries like Evernorth and others, right? All of these are taking XRP off the market. So it is going to be an exciting, exciting year as we move forward into all of this. James Seifert tells everybody here our base case is that Grayscale XRP ETF will go live on Monday, the 24th. So will the Grayscale Dogecoin ETF. And he says, and I think the Franklin Templeton ETF, XRP ETF could go live on Monday, the 24th as well. Lots happening next week. We love it, ladies and gentlemen. We absolutely love it. And as Bitwise CEO Hunter Horsley says, rightfully so, at Ripple's Swell event, crypto is here to update the financial system.
Everyone should be unbelievably excited. You know, after XRPL and XRP are over 13 years old, the crypto space is maybe 15 years old. It's all happening now. This space, for the first time, is going mainstream in 2025. Part of going mainstream means that there are people coming on board, incredible institutions here at Swell who are building services, integrating, but they're mainstream by definition because they're doing other things also. And that means for them, a month is super fast, a quarter is fast. And so I think in the crypto space, the timeframes that people are familiar with are just getting pushed out. And there's a little bit of relearning how to interpret the news flow as a byproduct. But I will unequivocally say we've been around for 7, 8 years now. I have never seen it feel as inevitable as it does right now in this year that crypto is arriving to update the financial system and will be a mainstream asset class.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Not financial advice from me, him, or anyone else. It's just our digital perspectives. We'll catch all of you on the next one.